Welcome to Leading by Example, Upholding Standards Without Compromise. I am your host, Dr. Vaughn, inspiring excellence, one lesson at a time. Are you ready to be better within your world and become the standard bearer within your organization or wherever you are? Leaders, aspirants, every one of you, all of us influence our culture, the organization's culture, our workplace's culture through actions taken both inside and outside of the workplace. I founded Ontero Solutions upon integrity, customer satisfaction, and attention to detail, specifically executive coaching and leadership development. Join in for fun, practical, and educational stories as I share lessons, both the good and the bad, that I have learned in my 20 years of leadership and management experience. Leading by example starts now. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a brand spanking new radio show that is set to challenge the status quo, inspire change, and empower you to lead by example in a world where standards are often compromised. I'm your host, Dr. Vaughn, and I'm thrilled to be on this journey of discovery and transformation with you. So have you ever wondered why standards seem to erode in our society, whether it's on the realm of ethics, business, politics, or even our personal lives? Why do we often find ourselves in situations where principles and values are sacrificed for short-term gains or convenience? These questions lie at the heart of our show, Leading by Example, Upholding Standards Without Compromise. Over the course of the show, we will delve deep into the complex landscape of compromised standards, seeking answers, insights, and most importantly, solutions. So are you ready to learn more about leading by example? Let's begin. But first off, happy 4th of July to those of you who are watching. Today, we begin a new series titled Legacy of Honor, Shaping Tomorrow's Leaders Today. The inaugural episode of this series is titled Foundations of Honorable Leadership. And we will examine the essential qualities that define honorable leadership and how those qualities can be cultivated. A couple of discussion points for defining honorable leadership. We'll talk about what the key traits are of honorable leaders and how they differ from traditional leadership models. We'll discuss historical and contemporary examples of leaders who exemplified honor in their leadership. We'll just name a couple. And then lastly, cultivation of traits. We'll discuss how emerging leaders can cultivate these qualities early on in their careers. But first, I like stories or parables because, they're relevant for learning things. So the first one is, not the first one, the only one for this particular show. I'm going to share with you the parable of the faithful and wise servant. So this parable can be referenced in Luke chapter 12, verses 42 through 48. In the parable, Jesus describes a master who puts a servant in charge of his household to give other servants their food allowance at the proper time. The faithful and wise servant is the one who manages this responsibility well, diligently performing his duties even when the master is away. When the master returns and finds the servant doing his job faithfully, he rewards him by putting him in charge of all his possessions. Conversely, if the servant thinks the master is delayed and begins to abuse the other servants, eat, drink, get drunk, the master will return unexpectedly. The master will then punish the servant severely and assign him a place with the unfaithful. So in the outcome, the faithful servant was rewarded with greater responsibilities and trust from the master, which is what we all want, while the unfaithful servant was punished and placed among the unfaithful. The moral lesson of this parable is it teaches us the importance of faithfulness, diligence, and readiness in leadership and stewardship roles. Leaders and servants are expected to perform their duties responsibly and faithfully, even in the absence of direct supervision. The parable underscores that there are consequences for neglecting one's responsibilities and abusing power, while diligent and faithful service is rewarded with greater trust and responsibility. It also emphasizes accountability and the expectation that one should always act with integrity, knowing that the master, or in a broader sense, God, may return at any time. So if you apply that to your life, you should want to do better. And in the New Living Translation version, the last portion of verse 47 reads, "When someone has been given much, much will be required in return. And when someone has been entrusted with much, even more will be required. So just think about that within the context of leadership. I know, being a leader and, being an entrepreneur is a heavy lift, every day. But, to whom much is given, much is required. I know we all know that cliche. But if you reference, Luke 12, verse 47 for a little bit of inspiration, when someone has been given much, much will be required in return. So us leaders, entrepreneurs, we have a huge charge and we should not take it lightly. Be good stewards of what's been entrusted to you because the master is watching and we don't know when he'll return, right? All right, so moving on to our first discussion point. The first one is, what are the key traits of honorable leaders and how do these traits differ from traditional leadership models? So there are a variety of them and we're just going to touch on them lightly because I'm going to write and post a white paper to my newly minted website. Once it's published, it'll be up in another week or two and you'll be able to find case studies, blogs, podcasts, all that good stuff. I'm so excited for it to be ready so you all can, visit it and just see all the good things that Ontario Solutions is doing. But anyway, honorable leaders possess a variety of key traits that distinguish them and allow them to effectively lead while maintaining high ethical standards. So I'm going to, mention or list off 12 key traits of honorable leaders. The first one we talk about all the time, even in previous episodes, integrity. Honorable leaders are honest and adhere to strong moral and ethical principles. They are consistent in their actions, values, methods, and measures. Humility. Number 2, they acknowledge their limitations and are open to feedback and criticism. Humble leaders value others' contributions and do not seek personal glory. Accountability. They take responsibility for their actions and decisions, acknowledging mistakes and learning from them. Accountability builds trust and respect within their teams. Honorable leaders also display empathy. They understand and share the feelings of others. Honorable leaders are compassionate and considerate, and they make the effort to understand their team's needs and perspectives. So think about these traits, where you fit in, or, those that resonate with you because either you've seen them or not seen enough of it. Moving on to respect. Honorable leaders treat everyone with respect and dignity, regardless of their position or status. Respectful leaders foster a positive and inclusive work environment. And that's huge. Courage. Honorable leaders are willing to take risks and make difficult decisions when necessary, standing up for what is right, even in the face of adversity. Honorable leaders are also transparent. They are open and clear about their intentions, decisions, and actions because transparency builds trust and credibility. Honorable leaders know this. Honorable leaders are also fair. They exhibit fairness. They ensure that decisions and actions are just and impartial, treating all team members equitably and without favoritism. Honorable leaders have vision. This is one of my favorite. They have a clear and compelling vision for the future, which can inspire and motivate others to work towards that vision. Commitment. Honorable leaders are dedicated to their goals and to the well-being of their team. They are willing to put in the necessary effort and time to achieve success. Patient. Honorable leaders, they understand that achieving goals and fostering a positive environment takes time, and they are patient in guiding their team through the process. That's hot, y'all. And then the last key trait is servant leadership. Honorable leaders prioritize the needs of their team and organization over their own, focusing on serving others to enhance their growth and well-being. So just know that the key traits, of honorable leaders can differ in traditional leadership models, reflecting variations in leadership styles and cultural context. So here's a little bit about how these traits may differ or align across 3 traditional leadership models. Now, there are numerous, but just for the sake of today's discussion, I'm just going to highlight 3. The first one being transformational leadership, because it's my favorite. Transformational leadership is a leadership approach that causes change in individuals and social systems. In its ideal form, it creates valuable and positive change, and the followers with the end goal of developing followers into leaders. Okay? Grow your own. Transformational leadership will help you do that. Transformational leaders are also seen as pivotal in guiding organizations through periods of significant change and inspiring their teams to achieve higher levels of performance and personal development. So, what are some characteristics of transformational leaders? So, they are inspiring. These leaders, transformational leaders, articulate a vision that is appealing and inspiring to followers, which motivate them to work towards those common goals that were articulated. Transformational leaders, they stimulate intellect. How many of you like to be stimulated intellectually? For me, it's a must. Transformational leaders can encourage innovation and creativity by challenging the status quo and encouraging followers to explore new ways of doing things, that out of the box thinking. You're going to find that with your transformational leaders. And they also provide individualized consideration. Leaders offer support and encouragement to individual followers, recognizing their unique needs and providing personal attention and mentorship. This means you got to get to know your people. It's not just sitting in your office with the door shut and just hoping that, tasks get done because everybody should know what to do by now. You need to talk to your people. And this is a day-to-day thing every day, not just, when a big task comes down the pike that needs to be done. This is a relationship. And then lastly, transformational leaders have idealized influence. They act as role models, earning the respect and trust of their followers through ethical behavior, integrity, and charisma. So they model the behavior that you see. And I like transformational leadership because it was founded in 1978, so it's still relatively new. It was conceptualized by James McGregor Burns in his book titled Leadership. Burns described transformational leadership as a process where leaders and followers engage in a mutual process of raising one another to higher levels of morality and motivation. So if you have that in the workplace, you should see some serious synergies, right? I think so. So the second model I want to touch on lightly is servant leadership. Another one of my faves. Like I mentioned, there are numerous, but I'm only going to capture 3 of my favorites here. Servant leadership is a leadership philosophy where the main goal of the leader is to serve. How many of you have been served by your leaders? Or how many of you are servant leaders? This is a holistic approach to leadership that encompasses a leader's ability to prioritize the needs and development of their followers and the organization above their own. Servant leadership emphasizes that the primary role of a leader is to serve and help them grow. And it's characterized by the following principles of empathy, which is understanding and sharing the feelings of others. Listening, meaning that you value others' perspectives and actively listen to their concerns. Healing, that's unique, right? Servant leaders foster emotional and spiritual health within the organization. Awareness is another principle. Servant leaders are cognizant of oneself and the impact that they have on others. And then lastly, persuasion. Servant leaders influence others through gentle, non-authoritative means rather than coercion. And there are others as well, such as I think one of the main ones, and I don't want to leave this out, is building community. Servant leaders create a sense of belonging and connectedness within the organization. So that's one of the key things that you'll see, one of the key behaviors that you'll see exhibited by servant leaders. So the origin of servant leadership was, it was first articulated in 1970 in Robert Greenleaf's essay titled The Servant as Leader. And this idea was inspired by Greenleaf's reading of Hermann Hesse's short novel, Journey to the East, which tells the story of a group of travelers who are guided by a servant named Leo. When Leo disappears, the group falls into disarray, leading to the realization that Leo was more than just a servant. He was their true leader. Think about that. Can that be said of you if that is your style or what you aspire to, the style that you aspire to have within your workplace or within your organization? And then lastly, we have charismatic leadership. This is a leadership style that is characterized by a leader's ability to inspire and influence others through personal charm, persuasive communication, and compelling vision. Charismatic leaders use their personality and communication skills to motivate followers and create a strong emotional connection with them. Charismatic leaders, this is a leadership style that is so powerful, and it relies on the personal qualities and vision of the leader to inspire and motivate. So if you say, oh, have I come across, charismatic leaders, or is that me? Here are some key behaviors. Vision and articulation. Charismatic leaders have a clear and compelling vision for the future, which they can articulate effectively to their followers. Charismatic leaders, they are willing to take personal risks and make sacrifices to achieve their vision. Charismatic leaders are sensitive to their followers' needs. They are attuned to the needs and concerns of their followers and show empathy and understanding. They have unconventional behavior. They often engage in unconventional behavior to demonstrate their commitment to their vision and to challenge the status quo. They also use emotional appeal to connect with followers, inspiring loyalty and enthusiasm. And then lastly, charismatic leaders exude confidence and optimism, which can be contagious and encourage followers to believe in their vision. And, right off the bat, an example of a charismatic leader, and understand this, that the type of leadership displayed by a leader, may vary within the context. But, Barack Obama, when he was our president, that charisma was, just so contagious. The origin of charismatic leadership has its roots in the work of the German sociologist Max Weber. And in his early 20th century writings, he identified charisma as one of three types of authority, the other two being traditional authority and then legal rational authority. According to Weber, charismatic authority is based on the exceptional and extraordinary qualities of the leader, which inspire devotion and obedience from followers. So there are so many. And, like I mentioned, you all, my website is going to have so many resources. The new website is, and eventually I'm going to have a connection to a learning management system where I'll have some training, some like micro courses that you can go in and just get all of this information, quick courses. Okay. But just really quickly, here are some behaviors and characteristics of charismatic leadership. Charismatic leaders have strong communication skills. They are exceptional communicators who can articulate their vision. Like I mentioned earlier, they have high levels of self-confidence. Are you thinking Barack Obama too? Who else are you thinking about? They are also visionary and inspirational. They are excellent role models for their followers because they have behaviors and attitudes that others seek to emulate. And then they also have emotional expressiveness. They are often emotionally expressive, which helps them connect with followers on a deeper level. They're not stoic. They're, you feel them, you get them. You can, read them through their, they're probably going to move their hands when they talk or something like that, or their facial expressions. Now, while there are common traits across the various different leadership models, the emphasis and expressions of these traits will vary significantly, again, with the context in which the leader must display these traits. So moving on to discussion point 2, where we're going to just, list a couple of historical examples of leaders who exemplified honor in their leadership. The first historical example is Mahatma Gandhi as the leader of the Indian independence movement against British rule. Gandhi's honorable traits included his leadership, which was characterized by nonviolence, humility, and a deep commitment to justice and equality. His personal sacrifices and steadfast adherence to his principles earned him widespread respect and admiration, even to this day. The second historical example is that of Nelson Mandela. His role in the anti-apartheid revolution as president of South Africa. He exemplified forgiveness, resilience, and a deep commitment to justice and equality. His willingness to forgive his oppressors and work towards national reconciliation after decades of imprisonment showcase his honorable leadership. And those are just a couple. I'm sure you have others. Share them with me if you care to. Excuse me. And just two contemporary examples. I mentioned one earlier, which is, our former president, Barack Obama, the 44th president of the United States. His leadership is noted for integrity, empathy, and dedication to inclusivity and democratic principles. His efforts to promote healthcare reform, climate change action, and social justice issues reflect his honorable leadership. And then lastly, Jacinda Ardern, the Prime Minister of New Zealand. Her honorable traits include her empathetic and decisive leadership, especially during the crises such as the Christchurch mosque shootings and the COVID-19 pandemic. Her focus on kindness, inclusivity, and transparent communication reflects her honorable approach to leadership. So, those are just a couple. There are many, many others, but think about, those examples against the context of your professional experiences and, who you are and what you aspire to be as a leader within your organization or within your own, not just the organization, but, your business if you're an entrepreneur. Now, lastly, moving on to our final discussion point, cultivation of traits. How can emerging leaders cultivate these qualities early in their careers versus later? Leaders can cultivate honorable traits early in their careers through a combination of self-awareness, continuous learning, and deliberate practice. Now, there are 10 traits that I identified here, but I'm only going to highlight 6 because I'm going to also post another article to my website once it's up and running. The first one being learning and development. As a leader, you study exemplary leaders by learning from the biographies and experiences of other honorable leaders. You got to have that self-study element as part of your own, as part of pouring into yourself. You can't just, figure, oh, because I have a desire to be in business for myself, I got all the tools. No, it's an exercise in continuous education. Because, a leader must also engage in leadership training programs, which Ontario Solutions offers. We can talk more about that later. You can also, leaders also participate in workshops and courses that emphasize ethical leadership, emotional intelligence, and servant leadership. So learning and development is key for all leaders to, build and, embed these honorable leadership qualities. The next one is demonstrate accountability and integrity. And straight up in just, layman's terms, own your mistakes. Keep it 100. Take responsibility for your actions and decisions and learn from your mistakes. And be consistent. Ensure your actions consistently reflect your stated values and principles. The next episode, where we have Steve Wiley as a guest, he's going to talk a lot about, organizational values. Think about, what they are and if you are consistent with those. Do you state one thing and do another? Don't be a hypocrite. And if you are, like he mentions in the interview, we all have a degree of hypocrisy, but fix it, address it and fix it. The next thing that leaders can do is mentorship and coaching. So the third episode within this series, we're going to talk about mentorship and leadership development. And I'm going to do my best to secure some dynamic, or at least one that I have in mind in particular, a dynamic leader to really speak on mentorship and leadership development and how this works for the organization. But, aside from while you wait on that next episode, you want to find a mentor. And I know this is very difficult because sometimes, we tend to, want to find, you're attracted to people who look and talk like you, but all the times they may not be your best mentor. But you want to seek out a mentor who exemplifies your honorable leadership traits and that can also provide guidance and support. And then on that flip side of that, you want to be a mentor. Not only do you want to take mentorship from somebody else, but you want to pay it forward by giving mentorship to somebody else. Offer mentorship to others, which reinforces your commitment to the growth and development of your organization or your team. And then serving others, volunteerism, engaging in community service and volunteer activities that align with your values. That does wonders for, your soul. And then you want to support team growth, focus on the development and well-being of your team members by helping them achieve their personal and professional goals. And again, this gets back to that relationship that leaders must have with those, within their charge. How do you know what someone's personal or professional goals are if you're not even having those genuine, authentic conversations with them, if you don't take the time to get to know them outside of, getting tasks done? And we talked about this earlier, the next one being commit to lifelong learning. Leaders should want to stay informed, keep up with the latest research and best practices in leadership and ethics. And then you want to adapt and evolve, be willing to adapt your leadership style based on new insights and feedback, and I mean, I can't say enough about the importance of coaching. People have coaches for all types of, the top athletes have coaches. Why wouldn't leaders have coaches, right? You want to adapt and evolve. Again, be willing to, know what those leadership styles are and adapt based on the context. And then the last one I want to touch on is cultivating a place of humility, by emplacing humility practices. Practice humility by recognizing your limitations, valuing the input of others, and being open to new ideas. Are you the type of leader who's, is your way or the highway? Or can you legitimately be open to new ideas from those within your charge? Do you honestly value the opinion of others, or do you think that you already know it all and, your ideas are the heaviest weighted? And then lastly, you want to celebrate others. Shift the focus from your achievements to the accomplishments of your team. So these are just some ways that, leaders can, build in and begin to cultivate honorable leadership foundations that will carry you throughout your career. Cultivating your honorable traits as a leader also involves a continuous journey of self-improvement, ethical decision-making, and a genuine commitment to serving others. And by embedding these practices that we just talked about into your daily routines and interactions, you can develop the foundational traits necessary for honorable leadership and inspire those around you to do the same. So, as I prepare to close out this chapter, I want to thank you for joining me on this insightful journey into the world of honorable leadership. We've explored the traits that define truly great leaders. We've talked about briefly some historical and contemporary examples, and we discussed practical steps to cultivate these traits in your own careers. Again, I'm going to publish some white papers, so be looking for them. They're going to be on the Antero Solutions website. But until then, it's now your turn to take action. Whether you're just starting your leadership journey or looking to refine your skills, remember that honor and integrity are the foundations of effective and inspiring leadership. Reflect on what you've heard today and consider how you can implement these principles in your daily life and work. Visit our website, www.anterosolutions.com, and there will be additional resources, including articles, some training that you can take, mentorship programs that are designed to help you grow as an honorable leader. So I cannot wait until my website's up. I almost started not to tell you all this, but it's coming. Be looking for it. And then lastly, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast for more episodes that empower you with knowledge and strategies to lead with integrity and purpose. The name of the podcast is Lead On with Dr. Vaughn. So if you don't see it by the end of this week, it's coming. It's coming. I'm putting it up on Podbean. But together, let's make a commitment to lead with honor, to serve with compassion, and inspire those around us. Together, we can create a brighter and more ethical future for our organizations and communities. I want to give a tremendous thank you to my producer, Ms. Moxie Rogers, for always keeping me on target and just giving me patience because I need it all the time. Again, please tune in to the next episode, which is on Thursday, July 18th. At 1 p.m., where the topic is ethics and integrity in leadership. And as I mentioned, the special guest is Mr. Steve Wiley, the president of Seek LLC. You don't want to miss that episode. And if you tune into that episode and tag him, he has a special treat for you. So in closing, this brings us to the end of today's episode on honorable leadership. We've delved into the key traits that make leaders not just effective, but truly respected and revered. From the historical legacies of figures like Mahatma Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi, I want to make sure I said that right, and Nelson Mandela, to the contemporary impact of leaders like Barack Obama and Jacinda Ardern, we've seen how honor shapes leadership across time and context. Remember, the journey to becoming an honorable leader starts with self-awareness and a commitment to ethical principles. Reflect on the insights shared today and think about how you can incorporate these traits into your own leadership style. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to subscribe, rate, and review. Because your feedback helps me bring more valuable content to you. Let me know what you'd like to see and I'll make the adjustments. I'm open to making this better, not just for you, but for me, because I learn every time I do this. So again, thank you for tuning in and being part of our community, committed to making a difference through ethical and impactful leadership. Until next time, lead with honor, inspire with integrity, and creative positive change in your world. I'm Dr. Vaughn, and this has been Leadership by Example, Standards No Compromise. Stay honorable, and I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye. You have been listening to Leading by Example, Upholding Standards Without Compromise. I am your host, Dr. Vaughn, bringing you inspiring excellence, one lesson at a time. Tune in to Transformation Talk Radio every first and third Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific for fun, practical, and educational stories as I share lessons, both the good and the bad, that I have learned in my 20 years of leadership and management experience. As we go through and learn these lessons, I would ask you to be thinking about those lessons that you bring that you could share for potential, hey, you may even want to be a guest on our show. So think about those lessons as we continue to explore inspiring excellence one lesson at a time. For more information, please visit www.enterosolutions.com. That's ENTERO.